Her name was Kemi, a skilled braider since she was 16. She had always been passionate about hair. She loved the art, the precision, the way each braid told a story, each coil a secret, but somehow her talent wasn't enough to bring customers in. After graduating university and with no job in sight, Kemi took a leap. She saved up every naira she could from her NYSC days, scraping together just enough to open this humble salon. Despite her location being ideal, right in the thick of foot traffic, next to a bustling market, her business was barely scraping by. People walked by her stall every day, their eyes skimming over her sign, but they didn't stop. They didn't even glance at her work, which, if they had, would have shown the skill of someone who loved what they did. Instead, they filled the chairs of other salons in town, leaving Kemi in the dust. The frustration was starting to wear on her. She couldn't understand it. She had the perfect spot. She was the best at what she did. Yet the chairs in her salon stayed empty. Her once hopeful dreams of building a business, of seeing her name among the most respected in town, were slipping away with each empty day. For an entire month, Kemi barely saw the fruits of her hard work. Her salon, despite being in a busy location, only saw 3 or 4 customers. It wasn't enough to cover the rent, let alone save for anything else. Every night after closing up her salon, she would sit in the dim light of her small stall, staring at the few naira notes she had made that day. They never added up to enough. She prayed, she fasted, she believed that with time her talent would speak for itself. But time was running out. The landlord's visits were becoming more frequent, the threats more real. She had to pay for or face eviction. But it wasn't just the money, it was the frustration, the feeling of being stuck in a place she knew she was meant to outgrow. Kemi had always believed that talent would lead her to success, but now she wasn't so sure anymore. The small victories, those 3 or 4 clients didn't seem to matter in the face of the bigger looming problem. Each month felt like a countdown to failure, and though she kept hearing the words "don't give up" in her mind, the silence around her salon spoke louder. One quiet afternoon, Kemi sat at her stall sipping on gari, the heat of the day weighing down on her. Her mind wandered as he absent-mindedly stirred the drink, thinking about the past month. She slowed trickle of customers, the mounting bills and the empty chairs that never seemed to fill. She knew she had the skills, but something wasn't clicking. The silence in her salon was louder than ever. Just as she was about to finish her cup, the sound of heels clicking against the pavement broke the stillness. Kemi looked up, her eyes narrowing against the sun's glare, and saw a woman standing in front of her salon. The woman was richly dressed, wearing a high-end tailored suit and gold accessories that caught the light in a way Kemi hadn't seen in a long while. She was an unexpected sight in a place like Utunde. Kemi blinked in surprise, unsure of what to make of the woman's presence. Most people who walked by her salon were in casual clothes, coming in for basic styles or braids, but this woman, she had a presence, a certain elegance that immediately caught Kemi off guard. The woman didn't speak right away. She stood there, scanning the inside of the small salon, her gaze drifting from the walls to the chairs and then back to Kemi. For a moment, the air seemed to hold its breath. Kemi, still sitting behind her small counter, felt a twinge of nervousness in her chest. What was this woman doing here? This wasn't the type of client Kemi was used to. Finally, the woman spoke, her voice smooth and confident, but with a hint of something deeper, something Kemi couldn't quite place. "I'm not here for a hair appointment," she said, her eyes locking with Kemi's. "I came to give you an invitation." Kemi's heart skipped. An invitation? To what? The woman continued. "You don't know me. I've been watching you. I see your struggle, your talent, and I think you deserve more than this stall, much more." Kemi's mind raced, her thoughts whirling. Who was this woman and why was she here? What did she mean by an invitation? The woman stood still for a moment, studying Kemi's surprised expression. Then, with a slight smile, she took a step forward and placed a business card on the counter. The card was sleek, professional, with bold lettering that read, "The Renaissance Network Empowering Entrepreneurs." "My name is Amina," the woman said, her tone softening a little. I'm a partner at an organization that helps struggling entrepreneurs like you to stand on their feet and build the businesses they've always dreamed of. Kemi's eyes flicked down to the card, then back up at Amina, her confusion growing. This felt like some kind of dream. How could someone so well dressed, someone from a world so different from hers, be standing in her humble salon offering help? Amina went on, her voice steady. Our organization works with individuals who show real potential but need a little push in the right direction. I've seen your work from afar, and I can tell you have the skill. What you need is the opportunity to showcase it in the right cycles. Kemi blinked, her mouth dry. She had heard of organizations like this before, but never imagined she would be considered. This woman was offering something Kemi hadn't dared to hope for, a chance. I'm hosting an event next week, Amina continued, glancing around the small salon as if she was trying to visualize Kemi's potential. A networking party for entrepreneurs. There you will meet people who can help turn things around for you. I want you to come, Kemi. I believe you have something special. Don't let this stall hold you back. Kemi stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the invitation sinking in. She had barely managed to make ends meet this month, and now, here was someone offering her a way out. But what was the catch? Why her? The skepticism gnawed at her, but the hope bubbling up inside her pushed it aside. I don't know what to say, Kemi stammered, still trying to process everything. Amina smiled, sensing Kemi's hesitation, but also seeing the spark of interest. Don't worry, just come. It's an opportunity, that's all I'm offering you. What you do with it is up to you. She paused for a moment, giving Kemi a look that seemed to say there was more to this than just a simple invitation. Then, before Kemi could respond, Amina turned, walking out of the salon with her heels clicking against the pavement. Kemi stood there, holding the card in her hand, staring after her. The invitation felt like both a lifeline and a challenge. Could this really be the break she had been waiting for? The day of the event arrived. Kemi woke up early, feeling the weight of anticipation pressing against her chest. She had decided to wear a simple but elegant outfit, something that showed she was serious but also stayed true to her humble roots. Her braids were neatly done, her hair styled with care. She was determined to present herself the best she could. This was her shot, and she couldn't afford to miss it. With a deep breath, Kemi grabbed her bag and the business card Amina had given her, then made her way to the event center. The venue was nothing like she had ever imagined. When she arrived, it felt like stepping into a different world. The building was grand, towering high above her. Inside, the decor was sleek and polished, with modern lighting and large, comfortable chairs lining the space. The people in the room were all dressed in expensive suits and dresses, their conversations hushed as they mingled in small groups. But there was a strange, almost cold atmosphere in the air. No one seemed to be truly talking to each other. The space was large, but it felt eerily quiet, almost like a waiting room. And Kemi couldn't shake the feeling that she couldn't and wasn't supposed to be there. She scanned the room and saw several people sitting in rows of chairs, all of them looking serious. Their eyes focused forward. There was no laughter, no casual chatter, just an uneasy silence that made her feel like she was waiting for something important, almost like an interview. Without speaking to anyone, Kemi walked towards the nearest empty chair and sat down. Her heart raced. Was this what she had been expecting? Where was the energy, the excitement? It felt less like a networking event and more like a test, and she wasn't sure if she was prepared for what she was to come. The minutes stretched on, and Kemi couldn't help but feel out of place. She watched the others around her, all silent, eyes straight ahead, waiting for their names to be called. No one smiled. No one whispered in quiet conversation. The tension in the air was thick, as if each person in the room was bracing for each other. Kemi gripped the edge of her chair, trying to steady her nerves. She glanced at the clock. She had arrived on time, but the event still hadn't started. It was so quiet. Too quiet for what was supposed to be a grand event. The unsettling feeling gnawed at her, but she refused to let it show. She had come this far and she wasn't going to back out now. She simply sat, waiting her turn. Kemi sat there for what felt like an eternity, the silence in the room pressing in on her. Her heart pounded in her chest and her thoughts swelled in a haze of uncertainty. She kept glancing around the room, but no one made eye contact. No one moved. It was as if they were all waiting for something, but Kemi couldn't figure out what that was. Then suddenly, the quiet was broken. A voice from the front of the room called out her name. Kemi Olaoluwa. Her stomach dropped. It was her turn. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the flutter of nerves that had taken over. She stood up quickly, her legs feeling a little shaky as she walked towards the door. An usher motioned for her to follow. The usher didn't speak, just led her down a hallway to a small office at the end. The door opened with a soft creak and Kemi stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. It was well lit, with sleek furniture and polished surfaces. At the desk, sitting comfortably, was none other than Amina, the same woman who had visited her salon the previous week. Kemi's surprise must have shown on her face because Amina smiled warmly. Ah, Kemi, please come in and have a seat, Amina said, her voice soft but commanding. She gestured to the chair in front of her desk. Kemi hesitated for a second before sitting down, the weight of the moment pressing on her. The room was far more intimate than the waiting area, and the feeling of being under scrutiny was undeniable. Amina leaned back in her chair, her eyes studying Kemi with a calm, calculating look. Kemi felt both small and exposed under her haze, as if Amina could see straight through her. It wasn't the same warm, inviting woman she had met before. This felt different. So, Amina began, folding her hands in front of her. You've made it this far, tell me, Kemi. What is it you really want for your business? Kemi swallowed hard, her thoughts racing. What could she say? She had worked so hard to get to this point, but now the questions felt so much more serious. This wasn't just about braiding hair, this was about her future. She cleared her throat and spoke, trying to steady her voice. I want to be able to run a successful salon. I want my skills to be recognized. I don't want to be stuck in a small store forever. Amina nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. I see. And what makes you think you're ready to take that next step? What sets you apart from the others in this room? Kemi felt a lump form in her throat. She was no longer just talking about her. This was about everything, her dreams, her fears, her future. She took a deep breath, her fingers gripping the arms of the chair. She had to speak her truth. I believe in my craft. I know I can do things others can't. I've been braiding since I was 16. I've been working hard to get to this point, but I need someone to help me push forward. I need an opportunity. Amina's eyes flickered for a moment, and Kemi couldn't quite read the look in them. She wondered if Amina believed her, if anyone in this room really believed in her. Well, Amina said, leaning forward slightly, we've been watching you, Kemi. We think you have potential, but potential alone doesn't make someone successful. We need to see more from you. Are you ready to do what it takes to stand out? Kemi nodded slowly, unsure of what Amina meant, but feeling the pressure of her words. Amina paused, then a slow smile spread across her face. Good, because I'm going to give you a chance, a real one, but it comes with a cost. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Kemi sat there, her hands trembling slightly, her mind racing. Amina's gaze never wavered, watching her intently, waiting for an answer. The room seemed to close in around her. This was her chance, her only real shot at turning her business around. But at what cost? Kemi swallowed hard, looking at the contract in her hands. She knew this was the moment. She couldn't afford to second guess. She looked Amina in the air, steeling herself. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Kemi said, her voice steady, despite the storm inside her, as long as it's within my power. Amina's lips curled into a small approving smile. She nodded and leaned forward, her fingers tapping on the table. Good, Amina said. You have the determination and I like that. She reached down into a drawer and pulled out a fresh contract, placing it in front of Kemi. Here is the agreement. Take your time and go through it. We'll support you every step of the way, but this is a partnership, and in any partnership there are terms. Kemi unfolded the contract, her eyes scanning over the terms carefully. The first few pages were standard business clauses, profit sharing, market support, access to their resources, and even training sections for her and her staff. It all seemed fair. Kemi's fingers moved quickly over the pages until she reached the last section. Her eyes stopped dead. Condition: every hair extension used on any client's hair must be sourced directly from the Renaissance network. No other extensions are to be used under any circumstances. Kemi's heart skipped a bit. She wasn't sure what to make of it. She thought of her clients, many of whom brought in their own hair or extensions, trusting her to create their desired look. How could she tell them they had to use only what this organization provided? She looked up at Amina, her voice hesitant. What if a client wants to bring their own extensions? Some of them already have their own, and they might not want to buy from the organization. Before she could finish, Amina's eyes sharpened and her tone turned firm. That is the condition, Kemi. You must follow it. The extensions must come from us, no exceptions. Kemi felt a cold wave of unease wash over her. She opened her mouth to protest, but Amina cut her off before she could speak. I know it's a big decision, Amina said, her voice taking on a more reassuring tone. She leaned back in her chair, folding her hands together. But listen closely. This is not just a random rule. It's part of the organization's policy. We are investing in your business, and in return, we have to make sure that we are able to recoup some of that investment. It's a business model, Kemi. We help you grow, and we make profit from the people we help. That's how it works. It's not personal, it's just business. Kemi felt the tension in her chest tighten, but Amina's calm demeanor seemed to smooth things over. She was trying to make Kemi see the bigger picture. Think about it, Kemi, Amina continued. You will have access to quality extensions at affordable prices. Your clients will get better results, and you'll be able to charge more for your services. It's all part of the plan. All you need to do is stay committed to the terms. Kemi took a deep breath, her mind swirling. This was a lot to take in, but there was something in Amina's voice, something that made it clear this was not negotiable. The success of her business depended on her commitment. All right, Kemi said, her voice steady but with a hint of doubt. I will sign it. Amina's smile returned, and she leaned back in her chair satisfied. I knew you would. Welcome to the Renaissance Network, Kemi. You've just taken the first step towards turning your business around. Kemi looked down at the contract one more time, then picked up the pen with a deep breath. She signed it, sealing her fate. Amina's smile widened as Kemi took the pen and signed the contract. Congratulations, Kemi, Amina said warmly, her voice smooth with a hint of satisfaction. I'm confident you'll do well with us. You've made a wise decision today. Before Kemi could say anything, an usher appeared at the door, motioning for her to follow. Kemi stood up slowly, still processing the weight of what she had just agreed to. The usher led her down the hallway, her footsteps echoing in the quiet space, and through a large set of double doors. As soon as they stepped through, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The room was filled with a burst of laughter, lively chatter, and the clinking of glasses. The once somber professional environment now felt completely different, bubbling with energy, filled with guests dressed in bright, expensive outfits. There were tables laden with food, platters of small appetizers, and sparkling drinks that caught the light. The sounds of soft jazz mixed with the chatter in the background, giving the place an almost celebratory feel. The usher smiled at Kemi, stepping aside to follow her in. Welcome to the Renaissance Network, Kemi, he said. Enjoy yourself. It's time to meet the others and get to know your new partners. Kemi hesitated for a moment, taking in the scene. She wasn't used to this kind of setting. This was a world far beyond her small salon in Utunde. But she had signed the contract now. She had to push through the unease and embrace the new opportunities. Thank you, Kemi said quietly, trying to hide the flutter of nervousness in her chest. She stepped further into the room, her eyes scanning the crowd. People were mingling freely, some laughing and chatting, others deep in conversation. She felt a slight pang of awkwardness. She had never been one to socialize at events like this. But as she walked through the crowd, she reminded herself that she had made it. She was here for a reason, and this was her moment. She grabbed a drink from a nearby tray and found a quiet spot by one of the tables, watching the scene unfold around her. She wasn't sure what could come of it all, but she couldn't ignore the sense of possibility that hummed in the air. For the first time in a long while, Kemi felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. That evening, Kemi returned home, completely drained. Her mind was still buzzing from the day's events, the contracts, the networking, the odd mix of excitement and doubt. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so physically and emotionally exhausted. As soon as she stepped inside her small room, she kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto the bed. She didn't even bother to change. Sleep took over her almost immediately, the weight of the day pulling her into a deep, dreamless slumber. But in the midst of the quiet night, Kemi's mind began to stir. She found herself standing in a vast salon, far bigger than any she had ever seen. The space was beautifully designed with sleek chairs, walls lined with mirrors, and windows that let in the soft golden light of the afternoon. The buzz of conversation filled the air, and the sound of hair dryers and the gentle hum of stylists working. And then she saw it. She was the owner. Her heart raced in the dream as she looked around, seeing people working for her. They were assistants, other stylists, and clients. The clients were walking in and out of the salon, waiting for their turn, exchanging greetings and complimenting her work. The atmosphere was vibrant, alive, and successful. It was her dream, a vision of what could be if only she had the right resources and support. The salon was bustling, a far cry from the quiet, empty space she had back home. For the first time in a long while, Kemi felt like she was in control, like everything she had been working for was finally coming to life. Then the dream began to fade. Kemi woke up with a start. The early morning light streamed through the curtains, casting a soft glow across her room. Her heart was still racing and a smile tugged at her lips. She couldn't shake the feeling from the dream. It was so vivid, so real. Was it a sign? Or was it just the weight of everything weighing on her mind? Either way, Kemi had a renewed sense of determination. She felt something shifting inside her, a new wave of hope that she hadn't felt in months. She jumped out of bed, quickly dressed, and headed straight to her salon. When she arrived, however, something unexpected greeted her. To her utter surprise, there were people outside her shop, a small queue of clients chatting quietly amongst themselves, all waiting patiently for their turn. Kemi stood frozen for a moment, blinking to make sure she wasn't imagining it. These weren't the usual passerbys. These were clients, actual people here for her services. They were standing in line waiting to get their hair styled by Kemi, as if she were already the go-to stylist in town. She walked up to the first person in the queue, her heart racing. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice a little unsure. The woman in front smiled brightly. "Yes, I heard about you. Someone told me that you are the best at braiding. I've been waiting to get in here all week." Kemi could hardly believe it. She glanced around, noticing more people, their faces eager with anticipation. It was as though her dream had come to life. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Her small salon, once quiet and almost forgotten, was now a place people wanted to be. Kemi stepped inside, her pulse quickening with excitement. She quickly set up her station, feeling the weight of her new reality sinking in. This was just the beginning. She didn't know exactly how it had all happened, but she was certain of one thing. Her business was finally taking off. She was ready. From the moment Kemi signed that contract, things began to change drastically. The Renaissance network had kept its promise. The extensions they supplied were of the highest quality, and the range of styles they offered was unlike anything Kemi had ever seen before. With their help, her business blossomed. She wasn't just braiding hair anymore. She was creating works of art, crafting styles that left her clients in awe and coming back for more. The clients were lining up, one after the other. Word spread fast about Kemi's skills, her consistency, and the amazing hair extensions that were now available at her salon. People from all corners of Utonde and beyond were coming to her for the perfect look. Each new customer brought in more referrals, and soon Kemi was booked out for weeks in advance. As her business grew, so did her confidence. The quiet small salon she had started with was no longer enough to accommodate the flood of customers. So Kemi took the next step. She moved to a larger space. The new salon was grander, more elegant, and a true reflection of the success she had worked so hard to achieve. With the bigger space came bigger opportunities. Kemi hired other stylists and assistants, each one trained to meet the high standards she set for her business. The Renaissance Network was supplying her with everything she needed: extensions, styling tools, even marketing materials to help promote her growing brand. It was as if everything was falling perfectly into place. Kemi's days were now filled with the hum of busy work, her team styling clients, her shop always bustling with energy, and her bank accounts growing with each passing day. She was making money, lots of it. She had more than enough to pay her rent, invest back into her business, and even start saving for the future. But it wasn't just about the money, it was about the pride she felt when she walked into her salon every day, seeing her team working together, seeing happy clients leave with smiles on their faces, their new hairstyles shining under the lights. The journey wasn't without its challenges. The agreement with the Renaissance Network still weighed on her mind sometimes. She had to keep using their extensions no matter what. But the results were undeniable. Her clients loved the quality, the variety, and the service they received. The salon was thriving, and so was Kemi. She had gone from struggling to make ends meet to running a successful business that was the talk of the town. What once felt like an impossible dream was now her reality. As she sat in her office overlooking the salon floor, Kemi couldn't help but smile. This was her moment. She had taken the leap, signed the contract, and it had paid off in ways she had never imagined. She had created her own success, and now she was living it. A year had passed since Kemi signed the contract with the Renaissance Network, and her business had grown beyond her wildest expectations. She had not only expanded her salon, but had also made valuable connections along the way. Among them was Ada, a well-established hair importer who had become one of Kemi's regular clients. Ada was always impeccably dressed, exuding confidence and success in every interaction. She would come into Kemi's salon frequently for styling, and over time the two of them had become friends, often chatting about business, hair, and life in general. But lately, something had shifted. Ada, ever the opportunist, began pressing Kemi about the hair suppliers. She had noticed the success Kemi was having with the Renaissance Network extensions and the steady flow of customers into her salon, and it didn't take long before she started offering alternatives. Kemi, Ada said one afternoon as she sat in Kemi's office, casually flipping through a magazine. I've been thinking, you're doing really well and your salon is getting bigger by the day. You're using the Renaissance Network hair extensions, right? Kemi nodded, smiling. Yes, it's been working well. They provide quality products and everything I need. Ada leaned forward, lowering her voice as if revealing a secret. I could give you a better deal, you know. I import high quality hair myself and I've been supplying salons all over the country. You are a loyal client of mine and I'll give you a much better price than the Renaissance Network could ever give you. Kemi raised an eyebrow unsure. Better price? How much better are we talking about? Ada smiled slyly, clearly confident in her pitch. I'll bring the price down lower than what you are paying now, and you will make more profit. Think about it, Kemi. You're already doing well, but this could take your business to the next level. More money, more profit, and all the high quality hair you ever need. You will have the best of both worlds. Kemi sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. She had always trusted the Renaissance Network to support her, and the agreement had been a solid foundation for her success. But Ada's offer was tempting. The idea of making more profit was hard to ignore. After all, who wouldn't want to grow their business even more? But Kemi knew the deal she had signed. She had given her word to the Renaissance Network, and the terms were clear. She couldn't just walk away from that, not without facing the consequences. But at the same time, Ada was her friend. She didn't want to hurt her feelings or seem ungrateful. I'll think about it, Ada, Kemi said carefully, not wanting to shut down the offer completely or immediately. It's just, I've got an agreement with the Renaissance Network and I don't want to make any rash decisions, but I'll definitely consider it. Ada's smile widened as though she had already won. I understand, Kemi. Just know that the offer is there. There is no pressure, but it's something to think about for your business. Kemi nodded, but deep down she felt conflicted. The temptation was strong, but so was the loyalty she had for the deal she had signed. She knew the Renaissance Network had been instrumental in her success, and she didn't want to risk jeopardizing that. That night, As she sat alone in her office, Kemi thought about everything Ada had said. She wasn't blind to the fact that there were options out there, but she also knew that breaking her agreement with the Renaissance Network could have serious consequences, not just for her business but for her reputation. She was torn. The money was appealing, but her integrity and the trust she had built with the Renaissance Network weighed heavy on her mind. It was a decision she would have to make soon. But for now, she kept the thought at the back of her mind, not wanting to rush into anything. Do you think Kemi would take Ada's deal? What could be the consequences attached to not heeding to the contract she signed? If you enjoyed this story and want to see where the story goes, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next part.